A man walks into the Real's New York consignment office with a used Rolex Submariner. He bought it for $12,000 3 years ago. The market is flooded with identical watches listed at $10,000. He insists his is worth $15,000. Not because it's rare, not because it's in better condition, but because he wore it to his daughter's wedding. This isn't stupidity. It's one of the most powerful psychological forces in economics, and it's costing sellers millions every single day. Here's a simple test. Imagine someone offers you a coffee mug. Nice one. Ceramic. Nothing special. They say you can have it for $5. You think about it and say no thanks. Now imagine they give you that same mug as a gift. You own it for 10 minutes. Then they offer to buy it back. How much would you sell it for? If you're like most people, suddenly that mug isn't worth $5 anymore. It's worth $8, maybe $10. Maybe you don't want to sell it at all. Nothing about the mug changed. The only thing that changed is that for 10 minutes, it was yours. This is the endowment effect. The moment we own something, we value it more highly than identical items we don't own. And it's not a small difference. In 1990, economist Richard Thaler ran the famous Cornell mug experiment. He gave students mugs, then tried to buy them back. The students who received mugs valued them at $7.12 on average. Students who didn't receive mugs, who were just shown the same mug and asked what they'd pay, $3.12. Ownership more than doubled the perceived value, not because of any rational calculation, but because the instant something becomes ours, our brain rewrites its worth. We don't own things. Things own us. Our attachment to them inflates their value in our minds. We remember where we bought them, who we were with, what we felt, and those memories become part of the price tag that they own. This isn't just about coffee mugs. It affects every financial decision we make. Houses, cars, investments, and especially luxury goods, where the gap between emotional value and market value can reach tens of thousands of dollars. The Real is one of the world's largest luxury consignment platforms. Founded in 2011 by Julie Wainwright, it processes over $1 billion in luxury goods annually. Hermes bags, Cartier watches, vintage Chanel. They have a problem that costs them millions. Sellers who refuse to accept reality. Here's how it works. You submit your used Rolex. The Real's gemologists and horologists authenticate it. They check 45 different data points. Serial numbers, bracelet stretch, crystal clarity. Then they research comparable sales. They pull data from Chrono24, Bob's Watches, every recent auction. They come back with a consignment price. Let's say $10,000 for a used Submariner in good condition. And the seller loses their mind. The Real's chief revenue officer revealed in a 2022 Bloomberg interview that roughly 40% of luxury watch sellers initially reject their pricing. They insist their watch is worth more. Sometimes 20% more. Sometimes 50% more. They'll point to what they paid originally, as if purchase price determines resale value. They'll mention that it was a gift from their father, as if memories add equity. They'll say it's in perfect condition, even when photos show desk diving scratches. The Real faces a choice. Educate the seller, which takes time and often fails. List it at the seller's delusional price, where it sits unsold for months. Or walk away from the consignment entirely. In 2021, the Real reported an average of 53 days for luxury watches to sell. But watches priced 15% or more above market comparables? They averaged 172 days. Many never sold at all. This isn't just stubborn sellers being difficult. This is the endowment effect at industrial scale. Every scratch tells a story. Every wear mark is a memory, and the seller genuinely cannot separate the watch's market value from the value of the experiences they had while wearing it. The platform knows the market price. The seller knows what it meant to them. And the gap between those numbers represents pure psychological bias. Daniel Kahneman, who won the Nobel Prize in Economics, spent decades studying the endowment effect with his research partner Amos Tversky. Their conclusion was blunt. We are not rational about things we own. The endowment effect is driven by something called loss aversion. Losses hurt about twice as much as equivalent gains feel good. And you buy something, you evaluate whether the gain is worth the cost. When you sell something you own, You evaluate whether the money is worth the loss. These are processed in different parts of the brain. Kahneman's research showed that selling something we own activates the same neural regions as physical pain. We literally experience it as loss, not as a transaction, as harm. In a 2008 study at Duke University, researchers used fMRI scans to watch people's brains as they considered selling items they owned. The insula, a region associated with disgust and pain, lit up intensely. When the same people considered buying identical items they didn't own, the nucleus accumbens, associated with reward and anticipation, activated instead. Same object. Opposite emotional response, based entirely on ownership. But here's what makes the endowment effect so powerful in luxury markets. It compounds with other biases. There's the IKEA effect. We value things more when we feel we've invested effort into them. Finding the perfect Rolex. Negotiating the deal. Waiting on a list for a Patek Philippe. That effort inflates perceived value. There's the sunk cost fallacy. If you paid $15,000 for a bag, accepting that it's now worth $8,000 means admitting you lost $7,000. That's painful. Easier to believe it's still worth $15,000. And there's what psychologist Dan Gilbert calls affective forecasting error. We remember peak moments and forget the mundane. You don't remember the 473 days you forgot you were wearing the watch. You remember the wedding, the promotion dinner, the vacation photo. Those memories colonize the object. And when someone offers you market value, they're not offering enough to buy back those experiences, even though, rationally, those experiences are already yours. The watch can't take them away when it's sold. Here's the twist. The luxury industry knows about the endowment effect, and they've built entire business models around exploiting it. Hermes doesn't just sell Birkin bags, they make you work for the privilege. You can't walk into a store and buy one. You need to build a purchase history. Buy scarves. Buy shoes. Buy belts. Spend tens of thousands on items you might not even want. Only then might you be offered the chance to buy a Birkin. This isn't accidental. It's engineered endowment. By the time you get the bag, you've invested enormous effort, time, and money. The IKEA effect is in overdrive. You've earned this, and that means when someone offers you $20,000 for a bag that retails for $12,000, you think they're insulting you. Meanwhile, Rolex has perfected artificial scarcity. The Rolex Daytona has been in production for decades. They could make more. They choose not to. Authorized dealers have waiting lists that stretch years. You put your name down. You check in regularly. You build a relationship with the dealer. Maybe you buy a Datejust you don't want, hoping it moves you up the list. When you finally get the call, that watch isn't just a timepiece. It's a quest completed. You've slain the dragon. The endowment effect kicks in before you even leave the store. Then there's the personalization trap. Luxury brands now offer monogramming, custom colors, bespoke details. Loro Piana will let you choose the exact thread count on a cashmere coat. Brunello Cucinelli will hand-finish suits to your specifications. Every customization makes the item less liquid in the resale market. But it also makes you value it more. It's not just a coat. It's your coat. Made for you. When you try to sell it, you expect a premium for those personal touches. The market applies a discount for the same reason. What makes it special to you makes it less desirable to everyone else. The luxury industry has turned the endowment effect into a moat. They make you invest so much emotionally that you can't rationally evaluate what you own. And when you finally try to sell, you discover that all that emotional investment is worth exactly $0 on the secondary market. So how do you beat a bias that's hardwired into your neural architecture? First, understand that your memories are portable. That Rolex you wore to your daughter's wedding, selling it doesn't erase that day. The photos still exist. The memory still exists. The watch was there, but it wasn't the source of the meaning. You were. The meaning lives in you, not in the object. When professional luxury resellers price items, they use a simple mental trick. They ask, if this showed up on eBay right now from a stranger, what would I pay? Not what did I pay? Not what I wish it was worth. What would an objective buyer with no attachment pay? This is called outside view thinking. Step outside your ownership and evaluate from the market's perspective. Second, document at purchase. Take photos of the item the day you buy it. Write down exactly what you paid, including tax and fees. Date it. This creates a clear baseline. When it's time to sell, you can compare the current market price to your actual cost, not to your inflated memory of value. Research by psychologist George Lowenstein shows that we systematically misremember what we paid for things, usually inflating the number by 15 to 30%. Documentation kills that bias. Third, set a decision rule in advance. Before you fall in love with something expensive, decide on a valuation method for when you sell. Some collectors use a simple formula. Luxury goods depreciate at 15% per year for 5 years, then stabilize. Not perfect, but it gives you a rational anchor when your brain is screaming that your bag is special. Fourth, practice with small items first. Sell something minor that you own. A book, a kitchen gadget, a piece of clothing. List it at true market value, even if that's lower than you want. Feel the discomfort. Notice how your brain invents reasons why this item is worth more. Then sell it anyway. You're training yourself to separate emotional value from market value. Start small. Build the muscle. Remember that man with the Rolex from the beginning? The one who wanted $15,000 for a watch the market priced at $10,000? Here's what actually happened. The real walked him through 6 months of comparable sales. Showed him sell-through rates at different price points. Explained how every week he waited, more inventory flooded the market. He eventually consigned at $10,500. It sold in 3 weeks. He got about $9,000 after commission. He wasn't happy. But he was liquid. The watch is gone. The wedding memory remains. Completely intact. Your possessions are not extensions of your identity. They're just objects that pass through your life. The endowment effect makes you believe otherwise. And that belief costs you money every time you try to sell something you own. The market doesn't care about your memories. And maybe that's the most valuable lesson the luxury resale market can teach you. Value is not what something means to you. Value is what someone else will pay. Everything else is just the endowment effect, whispering lies you desperately want to believe. If this made you rethink how you value your possessions, hit subscribe. We explore the psychology of money every week. Next video breaks down why people hold losing stocks too long but sell winners too early. Same bias, opposite market. See you there.